How's everyone doing today?
Good.
I'm going to start off by throwing some numbers at you. In 2009, this organization made $71 million in total revenue with $18 million in total expenses, which led to a $53 million profit in the 2009 fiscal year. Now, this isn't a Fortune 500 company like you would expect. It is the UGA Athletic Department. Now, they are a huge football program and get most of their money from football. This football team of theirs had a 130-man roster that year, and they worked approximately 30 hours per week in the season. From my experience as a college athlete, these hours were about 6 hours a week working out, 5 hours a week studying film, 10 hours a week practicing, whether or not it was full pads or not. They were out there working hard. About a 4-hour game each Saturday, 3 hours of pregame, and 3 hours of required recovery time the next day after a game. Now, these are for home games. If happens to be an away game, they spend hours on the bus on the way there, on the way back, in which they do not have an opportunity to work on their studies. This is one reason I believe college athletes deserve to get paid. The programs they are playing for clearly make enough money that they deserve a small stipend of some sort, because they bring in the most of the money. Without them, the programs wouldn't run, they wouldn't get the money they need. In most cases, big-time players are worth more than their scholarship, although they might get a full-ride scholarship for 3 or 4 years, whether or not they go into the draft. As much as they bring in easily outweighs that. So, Todd Gurley, one of Georgia's greatest running backs of all time, second to Herschel Walker, his jerseys were ranging from $20 to $200 online. Most of which did not say his last name, but put the iconic 3 on your chest, which represented him and who he is. Earlier this season, he got suspended for using his likeness as a profit, as in he was signing autographs and getting paid for it, which I believe is not wrong. Yes, it was against the rules, he shouldn't have done it, but I believe the rule is wrong. Todd Gurley grew up in a poverty-stricken community in North Carolina. Him and his family lived in a 1-bedroom trailer. Why is it that the University of Georgia gets to make millions off of his name while his mom is still struggling to live everyday life? I believe that's just not fair. Upon his return in the Auburn game, this dreadful event occurred, in which I will show you in this video.
This drive has taken 6 minutes. Todd Gurley, first down. Well, the Georgia rushing game has been impressive. Now up to 273 yards on the game. And the Georgia run defense has been impressive, as Auburn has been held to 142 yards. Oh, Gurley shaking up on the play. And that will put a hush over this crowd in a hurry. As the stands looking on, and remember his arm was injured earlier in the game. Take a break here, check out Todd Gurley when we come back. Todd Gurley, 1 carry shy of his career high in rushing.
And
Rushing anymore tonight. They got him over there on the sideline.
was ended up being a torn ACL, effectively ending his career at the University of Georgia, assuming he decides to go into the draft, which he is eligible for this offseason. This is greatly hurting his draft stock. He was one of the best running backs in the nation, if not the best running back in the nation. Now, I can't say him missing those 4 games, if he would have made those 4 games, it would have made a difference, but he definitely would have been in more playing condition, more play-ready condition, and this injury may or may not have been prevented. But if he were getting paid, it would not be a total loss, because he's effectively losing hundreds of $1,000s in draft stock. He's hurting his financial gains for the future because this happened, and I only think it's fair that he deserves some kind of stipend out of it. What's odd about the NCAA is making money off of your own name is the only rule they have regulations for. Every other rule they let the school decide the punishment. Look at Florida State and Jameis Winston and all the not great things he's done. The NCAA has stepped in and said that he's done something wrong, but left it up to Jimbo Fisher to decide the punishment, which has been light, nothing serious. While for making money off your own name, the NCAA has a chart. If you make so much money, you miss this many games, which I find to be very hypocritical. You should treat everyone the same and not just look out for yourself and making money. And without these star athletes, some schools wouldn't be able to rake in the cash that they do. In an article, it was said that Johnny Manziel brought his school away with media exposure that was worth an estimated $37 million last November through early January, which is the off season for college football, bowl season. In which period he won the Heisman and led the Aggies to a Cotton Bowl win. Now, Johnny Manziel also got suspended for a half for making money off of his own name. Wasn't proved, but the fact that while Texas A&M got him make $37 million, he can't make a couple $100. I think that's ridiculous. But why is it that a journalism major or an art major can go off, do a summer job writing for someone or painting and make money off of their own work, while an athlete can't make money off of their own name? Isn't that not the same? Now, they work a lot, around 30 hours a week in the regular season. In the off season, that workload increases. You get a heavier dosage of working out, and you start studying from day one. There's a huge risk playing in NCAA. You have injury risks, and that's a known fact. Marcus Lattimore was one of the greatest running backs in college football at his time. He played for South Carolina, was a solid running back, and in a horrifying injury against Tennessee, this happened.
Ooh. His right knee. It was his left knee injured last year about this time against Mississippi State. Tore his ACL, missed the rest of the season. Then had the hip injury a couple of weeks ago. Listen, you feel for players in this situation. They went low. He's such a physical player. A lot of people go low to tackle him, and his legs take a beat.
That was his ACL that made his leg look like that. No, it's his whole knee.
He completely destroyed all the ligaments in his knee.
Oh gosh! Oh gosh! Look at it. Oh.
Marcus Lattimore ended up getting drafted late, but he still got drafted. He never touched the field as an NFL player and has already retired because he has been dealing with these knee injuries. It's been nagging him during practice and he just couldn't handle it anymore. So he retired early after about being 2 years in the league and not playing it down. Now, where's he going to go from here? His whole life has been football, and since he made a couple $100,000 from the contract he signed, but without being able to make any money in college, he doesn't have anything other than that. And I know for a fact it was hard for him to spend time studying for all the work he was putting in for football. And when big players get suspended for this frivolous rule, this school ends up losing money. Back in 2009, AJ Green was suspended for 4 games after selling his bowl game jersey for $1,000, in which he wanted to provide help for his family. In those 4 games, UGA went 1-3. I can't say he was going to help them win, help them get into a bigger bowl, but being he was the best receiver in the nation at the time, I think he might have helped a little bit, and which would have brought UGA a bigger paycheck at the end of the day. Now, it's not only a problem with college football. The NCAA is also attempting to force college basketball players to stay in college for 2 years instead of 1, which I believe is wrong. Some of the greatest players in the NBA now, Kobe Bryant and LeBron James, came straight out of high school. I think it's only fair that it's their choice. Clearly they can come out of high school and succeed in the NBA. Now, 1 year is understandable, but pushing for 2 years is just the NCAA wanting more money. Imagine what LeBron James would have raked in if he was in college for 2 years. Whatever program he was at probably would have went to the national championship, and every person would have watched the game. It's just unfair for the NCAA to be making the choices of the athlete's future. Now, imagine that college athletes did earn a small stipend each semester for the money they had earned for their respective programs. That would be able to help their families that possibly poverty-stricken, and not everyone comes from a poverty-stricken family, but even they could use a little extra money on the side because they don't have time to work in the off season or work at all. We would need to provide a salary cap so paychecks would not go into recruiting and affect how recruitment would change, because some schools will be able to have more money, but that would be an unfair advantage to recruiting. So we would need to put a low salary cap where everyone could get paid around the same amount. And but it's true that not all sports would get paid. It's just called capitalism. I'm sorry, but if you're playing men's lacrosse at University of Georgia, you're not going to be breaking in the same amount of money as a University of Georgia football player. It's a little unfair, but if you make the money, you deserve it. And with this small stipend, we could even get NCAA back as a video game, which was a huge game back in the day. Last year, actually, it made millions. That could go into helping provide for the players their paychecks, because essentially they are the game. Athletes really do make or break a school's bank account. Some athletes just individually bring in millions. They work hard for it. They deserve to be paid small amounts for it. Right now it's on a hypocritical system. All it is the NCAA wanting to make more money for themselves and essentially just using the athletes for their name and their talent. How would you feel if you put in 30 hours a week and brought a bowl game win and a Heisman Trophy to your school? They essentially just earned $30 million off you, and you are left in the dust. Like, let's say you got an injury, career-ending injury that you could never play football again. That school still gets $30 million. You don't get drafted. That's just not fair. Athletes commit almost everything they have to the game they love. Why is it that we don't commit anything to them if they commit so much for us? I think it's time for a change, and I think it's going to happen soon. Thank you for your time, and I'll see y'all another day.
Can we get this one?